In 1811, near Nottingham, workers moved through the night. Their faces were blackened with coal. Their target was not a person, it was a machine. They were the Luddites. Today, we use that word as an insult. Someone afraid of technology, someone against progress. But here's the strange part, they were not fools. They understood what was happening. The machine was not just taking their jobs, it was taking their place in the world. For centuries, a skilled craftsman had value because of his hands. His skill was his identity. Then the machine arrived, and suddenly he became replaceable. The Luddites were wrong about one thing. They thought they were fighting the final machine, but the real machine was still coming. It took 200 years, and now the machine has come for the mind. Human history is really a story of one question: what creates value? For thousands of years, the answer was land. If you controlled land, you controlled food. If you controlled food, you controlled survival. And if you controlled survival, you controlled people. Kings, empires, and landlords built their power on soil. Then the world inverted. Trade cities like Venice discovered that controlling the flow of goods could matter more than owning the land itself. Then steam arrived, factories rose, smoke filled the sky, workers filled the mills, value shifted again from land to labor. But labor did not stay safe. Machines became better. Computers entered factories. Robots took over movement. The worker who once powered production slowly became less necessary. So value shifted again, from labor to capital. The winners were not always the people working hardest. They were the people who owned the systems, factories, software, algorithms, platforms. Then, around the year 2000, capital became almost invisible. Instagram sold for $1 billion with only 13 employees. No factories, no warehouses, no physical product, just software, attention, and a network. So the pattern was clear. Land became less important than labor. Labor became less important than capital. Capital became less physical and more digital. And now comes the fourth inversion, the intelligence inversion. For all of human history, intelligence was trapped inside human beings. If you wanted writing, you needed a writer. If you wanted analysis, you needed an analyst. If you wanted code, design, planning, or judgment, you needed a person. Intelligence was scarce, and because it was scarce, it had economic value. But AI changes that. Intelligence can now be copied, scaled, automated. It does not sleep, it does not get tired. It does not need weekends, rent, coffee, or motivation. It only needs electricity. That sounds like a tool, but it may be much bigger. It may be a new price for thinking. When machines made cloth cheaper, the textile world changed. When software made photos infinite, Kodak collapsed. And when AI makes words, images, code, analysis, and decisions nearly free, the economy starts to shake. This is why this shift feels different. When land lost power, humans became laborers. When labor lost power, humans became knowledge workers. When factories automated, people moved into offices. We always had somewhere else to go. But when knowledge work becomes automated, where do humans go next? People say creativity, but AI already creates music, images, videos, and stories. They say care work, but AI companions, tutors, and therapy bots are already entering emotional life. They say AI supervisors, but AI systems are already helping train other AI systems. So the honest answer is uncomfortable. We do not know, and that is the real story. Not that AI will take every job tomorrow, not that humans are useless, but that our old economic map may no longer work. The economy was built on scarcity, scarce land, scarce labor, scarce capital, scarce intelligence. But what happens when intelligence becomes abundant? What happens when thinking becomes cheap? This is why the Luddites matter. They were not stupid. They saw that a machine can do more than replace a task. It can destroy an identity. And now we stand in a similar moment. Only this time, the machine is not replacing the hand, it is approaching the mind. But maybe this is not only a crisis, maybe it is also a chance. For centuries, we measured human worth by economic usefulness. What do you produce? What do you earn? What skill do you sell? But if AI breaks that equation, we face a deeper question. Not how do we work, but why do we exist? That question is frightening, but it is also extraordinary. We may be the last generation to remember intelligence as scarce, and the first generation that gets to imagine what comes after. The Luddites tried to stop the future by smashing machines. We do not have to repeat their mistake, but we should respect what they saw, because the real danger is not seeing too much, it is seeing too late.